Rotaries, roundabouts, traffic circles. People either love them or hate them. Why don't so many people know the rules? What are the rules? In this edition of About the Law.
Hi, I'm Lainey Law.
And I'm attorney Andrew Myers.
It feels like wherever you drive in New England, Rotaries are everywhere. It's ridiculous. People just make up their own rules, and it feels like none of them are hardly ever marked.
I tried to call the Department of Transportation to tell us about Rotaries. Here's what happened.
Welcome to the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. If you are calling to report a pothole, please press 1 now.
Nope, no
For
pothole.
all other Department of Transportation's options, please stay on the line.
5 hours later.
The Department of Transportation's options, please stay on the line.
Many unbearable hours later.
Access our Aeronautics Division, including Logan Airport, please press 4. For all other MassDOT business and inquiries, or to speak to a member of our team, please press 5.
Do you think I'll be able to talk to a member of the team?
To contact any other departments or to speak to a live attendant, press 3.
So I'm looking for a spokesman that I could talk to on my podcast about Rotaries.
Sure, let me get you over to public relations.
Okay. My name is Andrew Myers. If there's a spokesperson I could talk to on Zoom for my podcast, that would be great. Following up, a week went by, the phone didn't ring, so we knew it was them.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to About the Law. On today's episode, we have a special guest. Andrew, if you would like to introduce our special guest.
Lainey, we're privileged to have with us today Doug Cope. He's a former longtime Boston radio newsman, and he also worked for the state for a while, so he has some special insights for us on our topic, Rotaries, today. Doug, how are you?
Good. How are you? This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and also near and dear to anyone who has driven the roads of, not just New England, but the Northeast.
Well, yeah, they're everywhere in New England. I don't know why. As you know, I didn't grow up in this area. I've only been here for 50 years. But I never saw a Rotary until I moved up here. I'm still wondering why. But anyhow, Doug, why is this so near and dear to your heart?
Well, I mean, yes, I used to work for the state, and the organization I worked for at one point, we were trying to get rid of Rotaries as much as possible throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts because, as you will talk about later on, they are high traffic areas and high accident areas. Mm-hmm. And of course, whether you call it a Rotary, a roundabout, or a traffic circle, to me, it's all the same. Yeah. What's happening is you're bringing several different roadways into one place and taking traffic from several different angles and bringing it to one area where people go around and around until
usually confused.
I have to correct you on that.
They find the area where they think they're going to turn in order to get to go where they're going. Now, the reason why you build these things
there's no reason why you build them. I have to correct you on something that you said.
Yes.
I went to a meeting a number of years ago, ironically a Rotary meeting. I used to be a member of the North Andover, Massachusetts Rotary. And it was held down in the Old Town Center. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that area, where a bunch of different roads came together in front of a church and the common and a restaurant and the meeting hall where we held our Rotary meeting in the Rotary. So the locals weren't really sure. They wanted this Rotary in Old Town, North Andover. So a traffic engineer came to our meeting. At the Rotary meetings, we always had a speaker. So our speaker that day was a traffic engineer. Now, in doing this show, I tried to find him. I couldn't find him. I put calls in, by the way, to the DOR, both in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. I knew it was them when they didn't call me back, but I did. I did my research, and Doug, I have to correct you. There is a difference between a rotary,
Go ahead.
traffic circle, and a roundabout. Do you want to know what it is?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, this is hot off the press from my research. Rotaries generally act similarly to interstate entrances in that traffic entering must yield to entering traffic. Moreover, a rotary often joins two or more major roadways, allowing drivers to yield rather than come to a complete stop at a traffic signal or a stop sign.
Yes.
Traffic circles feature circular or sometimes elliptical islands. The fairly large center often marks off a center of town or other landmark feature in the local geography. Design features initially allowed vehicles to enter and drive around at higher speeds, ranging from 30 to 50 miles per hour. Such traffic circles originally sprung up in the U.S. in the early 20th century when speeds were slower, people exercised more caution and patience, and traffic volumes were low. Finally, roundabouts represent an attempt to slow traffic down. Roundabouts require slower speeds, so traffic engineers design physical features to alert drivers to slow down. The designs can include raised concrete circles inside an outer blacktop circular roadway. Because roundabouts require slower speeds, highway officials usually place them on local roads, commercial accesses, and not directly on major highways or intersections. So there's the difference between
that's all fine, well, and good. But when you're behind the wheel and you're going through a rotary, a roundabout, or a traffic circle, it doesn't make any difference what you want to call it.
It's all chaos.
You've still got traffic all coming into one place, and you don't know whether you're supposed to yield or the other guy's supposed to yield. Now, I sent you some video and some pictures of a certain, I guess you might call it a roundabout. I don't know.
All right, let's take a look at that now and tell us what we're looking at.
That is at the intersection of Route 6A and 28 in Orleans on Cape Cod. In the past, there was just, and I remember this area quite well because it's right next to a restaurant that I go to lunch at quite often down there when I'm down there. And part of the entertainment when you're sitting outside eating your lobster roll is watching all the traffic try to go through the roundabout or rotary or whatever, especially in the summer when people from out of state have no clue what they're supposed to do.
People from out of state, people in Massachusetts and New Hampshire don't know what to do with their own rotaries.
No, because there are yield signs all over the place. You don't know who you're supposed to yield to, and the let's see, how can I describe it? The epithets that are hurled quite often by drivers at one another. Not just the beeping of horns, but the yelling of certain words in the English language can be very entertaining.
And the one-finger salute?
And the one-finger
Well, there could be that too, because in the summertime especially, that is a very heavily traveled route.
Well, but did you see any actual accidents while you were sitting there munching on your clam roll?
I have not seen an accident. I've seen some close calls.
Well, that proves my point that these are great things. You were entertained sitting there eating your lunch, but you didn't see any accidents.
However, I also remember in the past what was there. In the past, Route 28, by the way, ends right there. That is the end of it. Okay. And then Route 28 from there extends all the way down to Cape Cod, all down to Falmouth. But it ends right there and intersects with 6A. Sure. In the past, all there was one lousy stop sign right at Route 28, and you waited for the traffic to go by before you merged onto Route 6A. Now there's this roundabout or whatever that, everybody goes into, and if you want to go to downtown Orleans, you go one way. If you want to go to the beach, it's this way. If you want to go north to Eastham, it's that way. If you want, it's just, it's crazy, and it is entertaining. Now, I know also, another one of the reasons why there has been a trend in building these roundabouts or rotaries or whatever is to eliminate the need for a signalized intersection.
Right.
At a signalized intersection, you've got 2 lanes of traffic stopping, 2 lanes of traffic going. So the theory being also that environmentally, you won't have as many cars idling, at a red light as you would if they could perhaps merge smoothly through a roundabout. However, there is the safety issue. If you're stopped at a red light, chances are you're not going to crash into somebody else.
Oh,
Unless
come
you
on,
run the
Doug.
red
I don't know
light.
about that. I've been practicing law for longer than I really
I
want to
know.
admit now, and there's tons of accidents at red light, especially now
Of course.
that everybody is talking on their cell phone, distracted, driving, drinking their
Of
drink.
course.
There are
Of
tons
course.
of rear-end accidents at red
Yes.
lights now. There's just so many of them. I mean, people are at the red light and they're talking on their telephone and they don't hit the brake. And I find it terribly ungreen of you to be saying that we should have more traffic lights because, I mean,
Well,
the whole world
yeah.
right now is saying we've got to stop with all of these horrible internal combustion engines. All
Yes.
these cars stopped at all these red lights are burning all the gas and causing
Well-
carbon emissions.
After we're all driving electric cars, what difference will that make then? But and also, actually, what you just brought up would be a good topic for another time.
Yes.
Is driver distraction. Being on your cell phone, yes, that's illegal in Massachusetts and now most states. You have to be hands-free. But it's an unenforceable law.
It is unenforceable.
How often do you see someone pulled over
Every
being
day.
on their cell
Oh,
phone?
pulled over? No. We did that, but maybe when we update that one, we did a podcast on distracted driving, but maybe we should do it along with your insight because it sounds like you have some insight.
Yeah.
Doug, we went out on the road. I'm glad that you were entertained by these horrible drivers. I'm not so entertained when I'm driving and I see people do the things that they do. What I did is our crack camera crew here at About the Law went out and spoke to people about what they saw. Frankly, I was a little bit surprised. So let's take a look at the things that they told us.
What do you think about traffic circles and rotaries?
They serve a purpose. They're a little smoother than they say. From a statistical perspective, there's less risk of an accident, but I don't always see people actually observing the yield signs around them.
So you don't think people follow the rules? It's the drivers, not the rotaries.
I think so, yeah. I mean, we trust each other to stay on opposite lines of a line of paint most of the time.
So what do you think about traffic circles and rotaries?
I think they're okay.
Why do you think they're okay?
I think they seem to be efficient up to a point.
Some people say that they're horrible because nobody pays attention to the rules and they just barge in front of the other drivers.
I think as long as you know the rules and you follow them, that works well.
Do you think that people follow the rules?
Not everyone, all the time.
Do you think they should build more of them or less of them?
I'd be fine if they built more of them.
So you think they're safe?
Yeah,
Okay. So you have a thumbs up on them, right?
yeah.
What do you think about rotaries and traffic circles?
Well, I think they help keep the traffic moving, but they can be really dangerous if people don't know how to drive in them.
Why do you say that?
Because sometimes people just come flying into the rotary without yielding to the traffic, or they're in the those multiple lane rotaries where they're in the wrong lane, and they're trying to get out, but they're in the middle, or things like that.
What has been your experience, positive or negative?
Overall, it's positive, I would say. Yeah.
So do you think they should build more of them or build less of them? In some places they're getting rid of them.
I don't really know.
What is your feeling about traffic circles, rotaries?
Yeah, I think they're fine. I don't think everybody knows how to use them, and maybe that's where the confusion comes in, but I think I have a pretty good grasp on how to do that, and I feel comfortable with them.
When you say people don't know how to use them, have you had some bad experiences that make you say that?
Yeah, I have had some bad experiences. I actually got into an accident on a rotary. Someone rear-ended me because they thought I was going to go, but I wasn't. I was just on the brakes. So.
Where did this happen?
That was in Portsmouth.
The big traffic circle in Portsmouth outside of the liquor store?
Yeah.
How did it happen?
I came off of exit 5, which has like a very long runway. And after exit 5, it comes right to a rotary, so I stopped. And the guy behind me just thought I was going to go, and I couldn't because there's cars coming and just hit me.
Did
So
the guy that hit you have any explanation, or was he sorry?
he
Did he
just
apologize?
he was sorry. He was, but he thought I was moving. I wasn't. So I mean, my brake lights were on. So it just I think it was just a misread on his part, and that's what I mean by he doesn't know how to use, or people don't know how to use.
You think a lot of people don't know how to use them?
Yeah. The way I learned about rotaries and how to kind of determine when to go is to look at people's tires. So as they're coming around, see if their tires are pointing into the rotary or trying to come out of the rotary, and that'll tell you whether or not that'll allow you to read whether or not they're going to give you an opening to enter or not. So the way that I interpret it is when they turn in, that's your opportunity to go, and until that happens, you're going to be sitting there.
I have never heard that. That is unique. Is that your own, or did you learn that from someone?
I learned that in driver's ed.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very helpful. So yeah, check out the tires, which way they're pointing, and that'll help you determine which way the car is going to go. And when they turn, the turn that you're in is when that's your opportunity to go.
Where did you take driver's ed? In New Hampshire?
Yes, in New Hampshire and Pinkerton.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Schreiber.
And
shout out to Mr. Schreiber. Yep.
And even though you had an accident in a rotary, you're still for them. You think they're okay?
Yeah.
What is your feeling about traffic circles and rotaries?
I've had no problems with them. In fact, a number of years ago where I live, they had a situation where it was a bunch of old horse and buggy trails coming together. And they had numerous accidents over there. It was very hard to explain, but they ripped all that out and turned it into a rotary, and that got rid of 90% of the problem.
Where did you live that they had horse and buggy accidents?
Well, the horse and buggy trails, that was North Andover. They had it was roads that just came together every which way in the old center. And
I know exactly where you mean. I had an office in North Andover for 27 years.
Yeah. It was right there in the old center where the Unitarian Church is.
Yes, and what's the name of that restaurant there? I forget.
Oh, my God.
I know exactly where you mean.
What is the name of it?
And it's the Old Town Center.
It's the Old Town Center. I only know the Unitarian Church there.
Yeah, I know exactly where you mean. Do you think that rotary or traffic circle in North Andover has made things better or worse?
Much better.
Really?
Much better.
Why do you say that?
Because the old arrangement, you took your life into your own hands just to get across it, whether you were in a car or on a bicycle or something like that.
Yeah, okay. You don't think that they're dangerous because sometimes people don't know how to handle themselves?
Well, there is some of that, but in that particular case, that rotary fixed a lot of problems.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And you've never had any problems getting in and out of them?
I've never had any problems getting in and out of them. Yeah. The only time they've ever had to be careful is if there's a large truck in there.
And do they get stuck in the center of that traffic circle? I know exactly where you mean.
Oh, no, they didn't get stuck in there.
When's the last time you saw a horse and buggy in North Andover? I was there for 27 years.
Well, never, but you know what I was talking about, the arrangement of that thing.
Yeah. So first of all, what do you think about traffic circles or rotaries? Are they a good thing or a bad thing?
Fine by me.
Really? You have not had any problems in rotaries or traffic circles?
Nope. Use them all the time in Europe.
Where are you from?
Wyndham, New Hampshire.
Okay, and have you had any difficulties in the Derry traffic circle or any other traffic circle?
No.
Have you ever observed drivers that don't know what they're doing in them?
In rotaries in general, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, like what problems have you had?
I don't know. Nothing major that really jumps out.
What are your thoughts about traffic circles and rotaries?
Traffic circles and rotaries, I think, are fine. Unfortunately, when people merge in, it's not always known what the right-of-way is, so people tend to overlap each other. Can get to more accidents that way.
Why do you say that? Have you seen problems in rotaries and traffic circles?
I've actually seen a few. For the traffic circles that actually are two-lane traffic circles, you can get stuck sometimes on the inside without being able to get to the outside lane, mostly because people who come in stay to the outside and kind of block you in. That being said, if you actually go into a single rotary, if you're going around, you can sometimes have an issue with people, again, cutting you off and driving straight through without realizing they should pause before they enter.
So it sounds, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but does it sound like the problem is with the design of the rotaries or the people that use them?
The people that use them, honestly. It's more of, if you use it right and take your time and basically merge properly, rotaries are very fine and are very I guess, economical way to actually merge a bunch of streets together all at once. But if it's just a case where it could be replaced with a stoplight, like say it's less than 4 roads, then a stoplight would probably work better.
If you could tell the traffic engineers in Concord or Boston what to do, would you tell them to build more rotaries or fewer rotaries?
Again, depending on the town. If you have something with a high traffic town, I would more opt for a stoplight. But if you have something with a smaller town or community, a rotary is just fine.
What about the one here in Derry?
I think this one's fine.
Okay. Sir, do you have anything to add to that? Sir, what are your thoughts about traffic circles and rotaries?
Pretty much a lot of what she said for the most part. If you end up having basically more than just a standard intersection, 4 roads coming in, usually it's a lot easier to join them together. If you end up having, say, 5 or more and you're dealing with just like a stoplight situation, that's where it gets a little bit more messy and confusing. For the most part, what she said is usually more of an education. People need to understand that if you're not already on the circle, you do not have the right of way. You need to be a little bit more patient. And it can get a little bit tricky if you're in a situation where there's multiple lanes trying to get from the inner to the outer. But usually if it's a very large circle, usually you don't have too much of a problem getting in and out of that type of a situation. But if it's a very tight radius, then yeah, it's going to get a little bit tricky moving in and out.
I don't want to put words on your mouth, but it sounds to me like what you're saying is people don't know all the rules of the road. Now, how do you go about teaching people the rules of the road?
Basically, for the most part, a lot more in regards to just general education when they're getting their license. Also, probably a little bit more better instructions maybe to put onto signs as you're entering the area, giving people a warning of what's up ahead and what's expected of them. I'm not sure how best to phrase that in few words as you're driving by, but that's pretty much probably the best way to do it.
So yeah, rotaries, it again, it seems like nobody really knows where anybody's going when you go into one of these rotaries or traffic circles or whatever. And of course, in Massachusetts, if you're in the rotary, you have the right of way.
Right.
In some other states, like New Jersey, if you are entering the rotary, you actually have the right of way. So you have people from other states, like New Jersey, coming to Massachusetts, going into these rotaries, thinking they have the right of way when they enter the rotary, when in this state, they really don't. So again,
Doug, that's I'm going to use a nice word here to what you just said. I'm going to use a nice word. I'm going to say what you just said about New Jersey is counterintuitive. That's what we did here. Our crack research team here at About the Law, since it's called About the Law, we want to know what the law is. So we got the driver's manuals from Massachusetts and New Hampshire, and we're going to throw up on the screen just what the law is. So let's start with Massachusetts. Massachusetts tells us in the driver's manual that everyone is supposed to read and memorize before they get a driver's license, right?
Totally memorized.
Rotary traffic rules. Traffic travels counterclockwise in a rotary. Always yield the right of way to vehicles already in the rotary, unless told differently by signs or police officers. Always yield to pedestrians. Now, here's one, Doug, I bet no one follows this. And I'm quoting from the Massachusetts Operator's Manual. Use your turn signals in the same way as any other intersection. Travel through the rotary, and when you are ready to exit, use your right turn signal.
Never. They don't even have lines half the time. It's like people don't even know where their own going.
Quite often you have crisscrossing traffic. You know, you're trying to exit from one road on a rotary, and somebody else is coming in at the same time, and they want to go around the outside of the rotary, and you want to exit the rotary, and boom, you know, one of the, and I know you have a list of bad rotaries.
Yes.
But of course, one of the notorious ones in the past, which fortunately is gone, is the one that used to be right in front of the Sagamore Bridge at the Cape Cod Canal in the town of Bourne. That rotary was notorious for being an accident location because you had, again, crisscrossing traffic. One person's trying to get off the rotary one way, somebody else is trying to enter the rotary in another way. And of course, now that rotary has been replaced by what people call a flyover, but it's, you know, what it is is a straight roadway to the bridge and an underpass underneath. So if you want to go in the direction where you used to have to go into the rotary, now you go underneath the roadway. So the traffic is separated. The traffic still backs up legendarily, but at least the rotary is gone.
Just think, all those cars are burning all of that gas while they're all backed up. It's very environmentally unsound. But what you're talking about is Boston.com did a feature, which before the show I found it's still up on their website. It's called The 10 Circles of Death in Greater Boston.
Circles of death they are.
They identified what they called 10 circles of death. And the one that you're talking about is number 7 on the list, the Bourne Circle. So that one's not there anymore. But the number, I'm going to test you.
Well, the Sagamore one is gone, but there is another one on the Cape side of the Bourne Bridge.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if that's what they're referring to.
I don't know, to be honest. I just pulled this offline. Maybe I should have done better research.
They
I'm going
were
to test you.
Bourne.
You're born and raised in Massachusetts. You had a place in the Cape. You've worked in different places. You're very familiar with Massachusetts. Of the list of the 10 circles of death, I challenge you to name 3 of them.
Well, there's that one in Revere.
Yes! Ding, ding. Do we have a bell? Ding, 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 ding. The Bell Traffic Circle, yes.
Bell Circle in Revere, yes.
Yes, that's routes 16, 60, and 1A, and I know it well because I used to have clients in that area and go visit them, and there was a law firm that I worked with on the Bell Traffic Circle. So ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
1 down, 2 to go, Doug.
Is the old Drum Hill Rotary on there?
No, but that's after the top 10. That is given honorable mention. So you get a half of the
that was also
one more. We'll give you one more guess.
Oh boy. Well, there used to be one by Buzzy's Roast Beef. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, good grief! Down in Charles Circle.
Charles Circle.
Charles Circle, yeah. But I think the traffic was all going so slow there that I don't think that was a danger. All right, I'll give you one more, and then we'll move on to the other Rotary rules.
Oh, okay. Oh boy, let's see where else. Well, there was one in Middleborough that was pretty bad. Is that recalled?
I'm gonna cheat and tell you. Number 2 is what I would have thought was number 1, and that's the Kosciuszko Circle, Morrissey Boulevard, Gay Boulevard. Yeah. What a mess.
Yeah.
What a mess. And the number 1 actually surprised me. I would have thought that Morrissey Boulevard would be number 1. Number 1 is actually out in Concord, Mass., and that's Route 2,
Route 2
and 11.
Yeah, the Route 2 Rotary out where the prison is.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's a very heavily traveled rotary,
and people are flying along Route 2. You're coming in from the western part of the state. You got to get to your meeting in Boston, so you're flying, and then all the local traffic that's going to the courthouse, the stores, they're just coming on, and as you pointed out before, they probably don't know where they're going. So those are the 10 circles of death. I did my stand-up report before the show at one of them, and we'll let people guess till the end of the show where I was, because I'll identify that one. It's number 9 on the list. So before we go too much further, one of the criticisms that those people that we talked to had of Rotaries was people just don't know the rules. And so again, we dug into the driver's manuals that people are supposed to know. And let's go to the New Hampshire Driver's Manual. There is a page on Rotaries. We're going to show it to you, and it says that in a Rotary, yield to the traffic in both lanes in the roundabout. When there is an appropriate gap in traffic, enter the roundabout. So that rule, and I've actually had people questioning me. I wrote a blog article on this a number of years ago, and people said to me, well, it used to be different. My grandfather told me that it wasn't like that in his day, and the law isn't like that. And it is the law. So in addition to showing you the New Hampshire Driver's Manual, the Operator's Manual, that is also backed up by New Hampshire RSA 265:30 and RSA 23A, where the rules of the road and the fact that you're supposed to, yield to the traffic that's already in the rotary, and no, it wasn't that way in your granddaddy's day. That's codified into the laws, and I know that because the laws date way back a long time. So,
rotaries have been around a long time, and I don't know. My opinion of them has not changed.
So there's Doug. When
For
we were
good reason.
Doug, when we were talking about doing this show, you surprised me. You told me that in New Jersey the rule is opposite, and I said
Yes.
that can't be. I was scratching my
Well,
head because I grew up, as you know, I've been in New England for 50 years, and I know when I'm 90 and I'm walking down the street, people will say, "You're not from here, are you?" But I never saw a rotary growing up in Pennsylvania until I came here, as you know, 50 years ago. I had family in New Jersey, southern Jersey, and we used to go to the beach in Jersey all the time. Ocean City, Atlantic City, Wildwood was my favorite, Boardwalk, Cape May, all those places. But I never saw a rotary in New Jersey, so I actually questioned what you said, and far be it from me to question Doug Cope, because here we're going to show you the operator's manual, the driving manual from New Jersey. Here it is.
Yes.
Sure enough, it says right here, traffic circle, quote, "There are no set rules for driving into, around, and out of a traffic circle in New Jersey. Common sense and caution must always prevail." Now, what kind of a rule is that?
Well, that's the basic rule. That's the basic rule that, the rule is there are no rules. So
Very
usually
New Jersey of them.
though, it's accepted that if you're going into the rotary, you have the right of way, completely opposite from Massachusetts.
No, you're right, because let me read on and show
Yes.
the bottom paragraph of that very same rule. In New Jersey, under safe driving rules and regulations, traffic circle. Whenever a motorist is in doubt concerning who has the right of way in a circle, she should exercise extreme caution and remember the basic rule governing any uncontrolled intersection. The vehicle to the left yields the right of way to the vehicle approaching from the right. So that means you're right. The person that's in the rotary does not have the right of way. You've got to yield to the people coming into the... That makes no sense.
That's crazy.
Right. And then when people from New Jersey vacation here in Massachusetts, they do the same thing. And what happens is those the verbal epithets we were talking about earlier. So, and of course, if you're from New Jersey, they're pretty good verbal epithets.
Well, so that explains a lot to me because, I've lived my entire adult life up here in New England, in Mass and New Hampshire, and people don't know the rules. And now I know why, because, we're a mobile society. We go back and forth. I came from Pennsylvania. I know tons of people at our college that we met at many years ago. Most of the people were from New York, New Jersey, everywhere else.
Yep.
And once you get through the city of New York, it's, Lainey, you would know, it's only like about 4 hours from New York to Boston,
Yeah,
right?
I'm in New York all the time.
So it's a short drive, so people are up here all the time, especially in your beloved Cape Cod.
Yes.
So
a lot of people from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, vacation on Cape Cod, and when they do, they approach these roundabouts, rotaries, traffic circles, with trepidation, perhaps. They don't know what the heck they're supposed to do.
It just seems to me that, yes, I have great respect for the federalism system and the fact that the states are independent states. I have great respect for all of that. But shouldn't the rules be uniform? Shouldn't it be the same everywhere?
They should be.
I don't have any video on this, but in doing my research for this, I also found that they put a traffic circle down in Arkansas. They had no clue. I don't know if you read that story, but it's still there. People had no clue, and there's actually video of people getting to the rotary in Arkansas, where there's never been a rotary ever in history, and instead of going right, they go left.
Oh my God.
And they not only go left, then they go into the left lane of the street that they should be going into the right lane. So it's just chaos, I guess.
Well, again, it's a lot cheaper for states or whatever to put a roundabout in, for instance, than a signalized intersection that requires more construction, more maintenance of the traffic signal system, etc. So you're just building a circle, and you're hoping for the best.
Right. Well, to circle around before we close, to circle around to something that you said in the very beginning, my Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts office is in Methuen, near the Loop. And a few years ago, you probably know all about this, there was a horrible traffic circle right where Route 110 at that time went under Route 93. It was just awful. I mean, you would get in there, it wasn't really even a circle. It was kind of, I don't want to say it was pear-shaped. It was more like a pretzel. But you would go in there and you'd go under the bridge and you'd never have any idea whether you were going up on Route 93, Route 110, Route 113. It was very confusing. There were a lot of accidents. I think the I-Team many years ago actually did a story about that rotary. And so at some point, I'm going to say maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago, with a lot of construction and with the big dig of the Merrimack Valley, they got rid of that rotary. It's
well,
gone.
a lot of these old rotaries, as you mentioned earlier, they were designed for much less traffic.
Yeah.
And as traffic increased, it just shows that they're not a very efficient way to move traffic safely.
Yeah. There's a lot more traffic now than there ever was before. I mean, the traffic circle in Methuen just has so much traffic now. Any time of day, really. I was going to say, well, rush hour in the morning and rush hour in the afternoon are particularly bad, but no. I mean, right now people are going to the Loop. People are going down to Andover to do whatever they do there. It's a major crossroad between Lawrence and Lowell, and Route 93 is busy all day. I remember when Route 93 was a very slow road. You could actually get on Route 93 and not see a car for miles. Those days are long gone.
No.
Yeah, Route 93 up through New Hampshire, for instance, I think used to have a 75-mile-an-hour speed limit, in fact.
Well, people do 85 now.
Still enforced.
I'll be honest and tell you, I don't even know what the speed limit is, but people are going 85, 90 on that road.
Well, you'll recall during the Arab oil embargo, there was a national 55-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Yes.
In hopes that we would all conserve gasoline because the OPEC countries were not pumping as much as we had hoped.
Right.
So those days are long gone, though. 55-mile-an-hour speed limit really doesn't work anymore, even though gas is now much more expensive than it was then.
Okay, Doug, any final words? The green crowd tells us that there should be more rotaries. Despite what you've said about how Massachusetts has, in fact, gotten rid of a lot of rotaries, yes. I see more and more of them. They've just built 2 new developments here in New Hampshire, one in Londonderry, where there's a couple of little roundabouts to slow traffic down, and also where Rockingham Park, the racetrack, used to be. The legislature, in their wisdom, decided that we wouldn't have a casino there, but instead there's a huge development that's gone in there. Condos. Mass General Hospital has a building there. There's a shopping area there where there's a whole bunch of stores, LL Bean and others. So it's a huge development. They're putting in these little roundabouts to slow down the traffic. So for every one that disappears, it seems to me that 5 more are just popping up like weeds in my garden.
Make it stop.
Well, whether you call it a rotary, a roundabout, or a traffic circle, I'm still not a big fan.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Awful.
So let's go back out onto the highway where I risked my life in one of these circles of death.
This is the Roosevelt Traffic Circle just outside of the city of Boston in Medford, Massachusetts. Or as my grandparents called it, the Roosevelt Traffic Circle. This is one of what the Boston.com editors and readers called one of the 10 circles of death outside of Boston, because it's one of the rotaries where people whiz in and out in disregard of the rules. Most people seem to learn the rules when they take driver's ed. The rules, of course, require you here to yield before you enter the traffic circle. You don't have to stop if you don't need to stop, but you do need to yield and watch the traffic. But as you can see, the traffic simply whizzes in and out of these rotaries in the greater Boston area and elsewhere.
Thank you guys so much for watching today's episode of About the Law, and thank you, Doug, so much for joining us here today. If you guys watched up until this point, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We really appreciate you guys.
Doug, thank you very much for being with us today. You were very insightful. Now go have a lobster roll, and thank you, folks. Please like, subscribe, and join. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. You have been watching About the Law, a production of the law offices of Andrew D. Myers in Methuen, in the Merrimack Valley of Massachusetts and Derry, New Hampshire. Please give us a like and subscribe. The foregoing is offered for informational purpose only. It is not intended as, nor does it constitute, legal advice. Laws vary widely from state to state. You should rely only on the advice given to you during a personal consultation by a local attorney who is thoroughly familiar with state laws and the area of practice in which your concern lies.